everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny. Welcome if you're new. I'm here today to continue a long neglected little series that I have on my channel called The Movie Made Me Read It. I have 3 books to share with you today as per usual. The first one is from a 1992 film that is called Like Water for Chocolate. And I read the book at the end of 2023. Which is Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel, and it is translated from the Spanish by Carol and Thomas Christensen. So I haven't watched this film in quite a long time, and but I don't think that is a problem, because this little book is very charming and fairy tale-esque in how it's told. Our main character is a woman who is kind of the victim of her fate. She's the youngest, and therefore she has been allotted the role of taking care of her mother into her old age, and she's not allowed to marry. But she falls in love anyway, and all of the drama that comes from the story kind of ensues from that point. And one of her great talents is that she can imbue her food that she makes with her emotions. And so this causes a lot of fun and comical and dramatic events to occur during, especially when her love marries her sister because her mother has decided that is what's going to happen. So it is a charming story. I actually think that the film is more worth your time than the book. The book has recipes in it. So each month, it's laid out in months, but the time is not chronologically in one year. But each month has a recipe, which is very sweet. And they do talk through the recipes in the film from what I remember. But I think the film just has this richness to the visuals. You can see this is actually a still from the film here on the cover. So the food was very sensual looking and beautiful. There's a richness to the way the imagery is that you don't necessarily get in the book, and I think I got that from the book because I watched the film first. So it is a short read, so if you want to give it a try, please do. But I would in this case say that watching the film is just as good as reading the book. Okay, our next book actually has 2 different film adaptations. So Foxfire Confessions of a Girl Gang by Joyce Carol Oates. I actually did a full review on this book, which I will link below. I think that this book is very unique, that it shows a side of womanhood in the 1950s, and a really important place in history in this book that I don't think other books have ever acknowledged in the same way, in terms of the angst of young women in a time when they had very little agency. And this is set in upstate New York. So this has been adapted in 2 ways. The first adaptation was in 1996, and it was set in 1996. So they took the general idea of a girl gang and they adapted it to a 1996 world. They kept the characters, but a lot of the scenarios are changed. And I think that this 1996 film, as much as I loved it personally, it was very influential to me as a teenage girl watching it. They watered down a lot of the context of this story in the 1996 film. which says a lot because there are some fairly deep and hard-hitting issues that are happening in the 1996 film around mental health and agency for women as well. But it's not taken as far as the book version is. So for me, I think there's a lot of nostalgia around the 1996 film, and I can't say that other people would feel that same way about it as I do. So watch it if you enjoy some, teen melodrama, a young Angelina Jolie. And it is a very good depiction of teenage life in the 1990s. So I would say that that's also a bonus to that version of the film. There's also a Canadian film, which was done in 2014, based on the original time period of the book. So it is set in the 1950s in upstate New York. And it follows more closely, I believe, to the plot of the book. I actually haven't seen that film, so I can't say for sure. But from the trailers, and I will link the films and the trailers down below so you can have a look at them if you're interested, I would say it stays more true to the vibe and the tone of the book itself, more so than the 1996 film. So, you've got two options here if you're interested in book to film adaptations. And I think this story is extremely important. Again, all of that is in my review, which is down below. But if you're interested in women's history and the evolution of teenage women, it might even be interesting to watch both the 2014 version and the 1996 version and see that contrast there, and see how that agency changed over the years. But this is a really, really exceptional novel. Okay, and then for our final, the movie made me read it. I have picked out The Shipping News, which was a novel by Annie Proulx, and it was adapted to film in 2001, starring Kevin Spacey and Julianne Moore and Judi Dench. So I actually rewatched the film after reading the book. So I watched the film in the early 2000s. I meant to read the book for this whole time and only read it last fall. And then I rewatched the film in probably March, I think, of this year. So a few things that came up for me. As I was reading the book, I definitely felt that Kevin Spacey was not my Coyle. So the character of Coyle is described as a very large man. He's very lumbering, but kind of like this gentle giant feel. And Kevin Spacey just doesn't embody that for me. The person who I think today would play, if they were to redo this adaptation, I would cast Brendan Fraser as Coyle, because I think he perfectly embodies the character and would do an amazing job as Coyle. Julianne Moore and Judi Dench were fantastic. I wouldn't recast them. And I would say that the film captures a lot of the best parts of the book. So they did change a few things. For instance, there's two daughters in the book and there's only one daughter in the film. They obviously don't include as many of the situations that happen because they just don't have time to. So you don't get that depth of character that you get in this book, which, there are some fantastic characters in here. So, it's worth reading the book for that reason, to get that sense. There were some parts of the book that I found to be difficult to digest. So things such as a very high focus on sexual abuse, which I found to be overdone, and I didn't understand why they were doing it. The tone of voice at the beginning was a little bit hard to get into with this book, and then it evolved later on into something that was easier to read. And I didn't really understand that and why Annie Proulx was doing that, but now I think it's because she was using Coyle's voice itself as a voice that was evolving throughout the book. Again, I just think the film was good. You definitely get a nice feeling of the atmosphere of Newfoundland watching it. but you don't get the same level of connection to the characters. And they did their best to try to share the history of the family, this family who were in the United States but ended up going back to Newfoundland after tragedy to try to reinvent their lives because that's where their ancestors were from. So yeah, I think the film did a pretty good job of capturing the main essence of the book, but I do think the book is worth a read separately. And like I said, I think Kevin Spacey was miscast. I think that he just didn't embody Coyle to me. He never was really able to give this fuller sense. The Coyle is an extremely complex character, and obviously the film is only a couple hours, so maybe you just can't convey that complexity, but I do think that a different actor would be able to maybe do it a bit better. So yeah, so there you have it. Those are my 3 The Movie Made Me Read It books for this installment. If you enjoyed these, I will link the other 2 down below that I did previously. And I hope to actually have another one of these another one of these videos about book to film adaptations that I'm reading by the end of this year. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be back again soon with another video.